everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. My name is Judith Mwamba. I'm currently a nursing student at KU. And for today's topic, we'll be discussing on addressing memory loss and aging strategies for seniors. So let's begin. I've divided today's workshop into 4 parts. So the first part that we'll be talking about will be about, the meaning of memory and aging. Then we'll go into normal expected memory problems, followed by what are some serious unexpected memory problems. And lastly, which is a key part of this workshop, is strategies. Now, before we begin talking about memory and aging, I included the definitions to make sure that we're all on the same term throughout this whole workshop. And memory, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is defined as the mental capacity of retaining and reviving facts, events, impressions, or recalling or recognizing previous experiences. And as for aging, it's defined as a natural process of our lives where one gradually experiences changes in our bodies and also in our brains. And these changes target our physical and mental abilities, and they also may increase our risk of diseases. It's important to know that with aging, subtle memory changes occur naturally, and that's part of the process. For some, these changes either happen sooner or they could also happen faster than expected. And it varies from person to person. So not everybody experiences these memory changes the same. Just because you're going to be a part of a specific age group as someone else, it doesn't mean that you guys will experience it the same. There's definitely going to be a lot in common, a lot of things that you will see in someone else that you have, but it varies from person to person. And identifying the cause of the problem with memory loss can help identify ways to treat and improve your memory. So for example, what this means is if the cause of the memory loss is due to problems such as sleeping problems or head injuries from an accident or medication side effects, knowing these things help identify where we can target the treatment. Forgetting things such as misplacing wallets, forgetting someone's name or an address, all these things happen to everyone on a daily basis and they are normal. So please don't be alarmed throughout this workshop if you find yourself forgetting certain things, or whenever you meet someone and you forget their name, all these things are normal. It doesn't mean that you have a memory problem or forgetfulness problem. Some brain changes are inevitable when it comes to aging, but major memory problems are not one of them. That's why it's important to know the difference between normal age-related forgetfulness and the symptoms that may indicate a developing cognitive problem, which brings us to the second part of the workshop, which is expected memory problems, or what are expected forgetfulness problems. And I've added the question that we'll be asking ourselves throughout the next slide, which is, what's the difference between normal age-related forgetfulness and a serious memory problem? And in the next slides, I have included what are expected memory problems. All right, so like mentioned before, forgetting things such as misplacing wallets, forgetting someone's name or an address are expected and they're normal. Another expected forgetfulness problem is language. More so the words or how they're pronounced and how they can be used in combination with other terms to be understood. For example, slangs. It's definitely very easy or easier to forget slangs because it varies from person to person, depending on which country you're visiting, and also depending on the time. Each generation and every year there's a new slang, so forgetting these things are normal. Another normal expected forgetfulness problem is trouble finding words in conversation. For example, when the word you're trying to say feels as though it's at the tip of your tongue while you're talking to someone, that's a normal memory problem, or if it takes you longer to get a specific word out, as well as having a slower reaction during a conversation is part of a normal expected memory problem. And there exist different types of memories. I've put two major categories that I found. And the first one is preserved memory function, and the second one is declining memory function. So the first type of memory includes the ability to remember events from years ago, performing tasks, and general knowledge. And declining memory function includes learning and recalling new information. Now for what are serious or unexpected memory problems. The key indication for serious or unexpected memory problem is when your forgetfulness starts to interfere with your normal everyday life. For example, forgetting where you place your wallet is a simple sign of forgetfulness, but forgetting what your wallet is used for is not a normal sign. Same thing goes for forgetting where you place your glasses. That's normal, that's fine. But then forgetting what your glasses are used for, then when that happens, then concern should be raised. Also, serious unexpected memory problems include memory losses that are considered to be seen as dementia or MCI. And MCI stands for mild cognitive impairment. Now, researchers are saying that MCI is along the path to dementia, but not all individuals that are diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment will develop dementia. It varies from person to person once again. And a definition of dementia, so that we're all on the same page, is dementia is not a specific disease, but rather it's a general term that is used for impaired ability to remember, to think, or make decisions that interfere with doing everyday activities. And this is defined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And MCI is defined as an intermediate stage between normal age-related cognitive changes and the more serious symptoms that indicate dementia. So this is normal age-related cognitive changes, and then this is dementia, and MCI is right in the middle. And that's why a lot of researchers are saying that MCI is along the path to dementia, because the next step to MCI leads to dementia, but not everybody that gets MCI can get dementia. You can have MCI and that could be reverted to going back to having a normal age-related forgetfulness problem. So yeah, once again, it varies from person to person. That's why it's important to also talk to your doctor, which is what we'll talk about following this. And so with MCI, you experience forgetfulness and other symptoms such as difficulty speaking and disorientation, but they are not so severe that they interfere with your normal daily functions and routines. And with serious and unexpected memory problems, if you know someone or if you recognize a repetitive pattern in having trouble remembering or thinking clearly, either in yourself or in someone else, do not hesitate to talk to a doctor or to a practitioner. And essentially, when you go visit your doctor or a practitioner about having serious memory problems, tests and assessments will be performed, and various tests happen. One of them is a brain scan, and this is done just to help determine what is the source of the problem. And in this slide, I've included two graphs side by side, which shows a curve of what it looks like to have a normal age-related memory loss problem versus someone who might have Alzheimer's disease. And Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia. It's the most common type of dementia. So as you can see in the very first one, this type of memory loss problem is what affects most of the people. Only 40% of population, I believe, have dementia, but I'll double check with the facts to make sure I'm letting you guys know the proper statistics. But as you can see for normal age-related memory loss, the curve is more so normal. It's nothing too worrisome, nothing that it's something that happens to everyone. It's part of the aging process. as opposed to having Alzheimer's disease. That is something that raises more concerns because unfortunately, Alzheimer's disease can lead to death, as you can see in the last graph. So I'll just leave this on for a couple seconds so you guys can take a look and see the differences. All right, moving on. Now here is a summary um, that basically wraps up what we talked about during normal related memory problems and unexpected and serious memory related problems. So I put them side by side. And as you can see, when it comes to normal aging, for example, making a bad decision once in a while is fine. Whereas in Alzheimer's disease, making poor judgments and decisions a lot of the time happen. And for normal aging, missing a monthly payment happens, whereas knowing if you have Alzheimer's disease is when you have problems taking care of monthly bills. For normal aging, there's forgetting which day it is and remembering it later versus losing track of the date or time of year. Once again, for normal aging, there's sometimes forgetting which words to use versus trouble having a conversation. And lastly, for normal aging, there's losing things from time to time versus Alzheimer's disease, which is misplacing things often and being unable to find them. Now we've moved on to the last portion of the workshop where we'll be talking about memory loss strategies. Now, I want to put a quick disclaimer that following the strategies that I will list, which is although there is no clear-cut proven link that doing any of the following will help slow memory and thinking skill decline, these are general recommendations for maintaining a good health. So the strategies that I will list in the following slides that I've done with research aren't cures, but they're just ways that could help in maintaining a good health when it comes to memory loss. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so the strategy number one when it comes to memory loss is follow a daily routine. Not every day has to be the same. You don't have to do the same things every day, but having structure in your everyday routine will help with allowing you to know what is next for me. Number two is get an adequate amount of sleep. So when you sleep late or when you don't sleep on time or when you wake up early and you don't have 8 hours or 7 hours of sleep, the next morning when you wake up, you normally wake up disorientated or even more tired. Sometimes that can come into play and interfere with your memory. Number three is put your wallet or purse, keys, phones, and glasses in the same place each day. 4, don't drink a lot of alcohol or avoid drinking excessive amount of alcohol because this is an impairment that will definitely affect your brain's ability to think, and that's where your memory comes from, right? Number 5, volunteer in your community, at a school, or at your place of worship. Stay socially active, spend time with friends and family is number 6. And so it's been shown that staying socially active, whether it is by spending time with family or friends or volunteering, helps with, is a strategy to help with memory loss. But please make sure that if anyone is going to partake in any of these things, staying socially active, to please take precaution to protect yourself and others during the pandemic, the time that we're in. Number 7, we have stay positive, find happiness, and be grateful. This one, I believe, is a very important strategy, especially when facing challenges and difficulties regarding your memory loss can take a toll on someone. And things such as depression and anxiety are factors that can influence your memory loss. So definitely staying positive and finding happiness and being grateful is a way to reverse that. Number 8, we have reduce stress. Number 9, we have exercise your brain. And you can exercise your brain by doing puzzles, quizzes, card games, reading, learning a new language, playing a new instrument, learn a new skill or hobby, take a class. Essentially, just to challenge your brain. Our brain is something that evolves, that changes over time, and being able to exercise it with all these different examples is a good way of making sure that your brain stays up. All right, so for this part of the workshop, during research, I was able to find a lot of common questions that were asked while reading different experiments, sorry. And so here I've included what I found. And so frequently asked questions were, the first one is, isn't dementia part of normal aging? And the answer to that is no. Many older adults live their entire lives without developing dementia. So just because you're aging does not mean that you'll get dementia. And just because you're aging and memory loss is something that happens and that's inevitable, also doesn't mean that your memory loss will increase all the way up to dementia. The second question is, what increases the risk for dementia? The answer was age, your family history, your race and your ethnicity, if you have a poor heart health, and if you've had traumatic brain injuries. The other question was when to see a doctor for memory loss. And the answer is it's time to consult a doctor when memory lapses become frequent enough or sufficiently noticeable to concern you or a family doctor. And so it's very important that it's never too early to go see a doctor it's never too early to see a doctor if the concerns are around memory loss. The earlier, the better to make sure if you detect if there's anything that's going on in your brain. It's also important to remember that memory loss doesn't automatically mean that you have dementia. There are many other reasons why you may be experiencing cognitive problems, including stress, depression, and even vitamin deficiencies. That's why it's so important to go to a doctor to get an official diagnosis if you're experiencing trouble. And now we have, can memory be improved? The answer is yes. The brain has an incredible ability to reshape itself, especially when it comes to learning and memory. And lastly, the most frequently asked question was, what causes loss of memory? And so stress, anxiety, depression, or alcoholism are a few factors that can cause forgetfulness or memory problem. Once again, like things such as age and family history also can cause loss of memory. Thank you so much for listening to today's workshop, which was on addressing memory loss and aging strategies for seniors. And here are my sources. Thank you. Bye.